Hi, I'm QDC. What we're about to build today is Roden's Heinkel He111 H-16, and this is in 1/144th scale. And the reason why I'm building this particular kit is because of two reasons. The first reason is that this kit is from Ukraine, and so I'm actually supporting the Ukraine war by me buying and building this kit. That's the first reason. And the second reason is because the interesting history of this particular airplane, of one particular airplane to be exact. Let me tell you the story. Recently, I just came back from London, from my trip to London, and I was at the RAF Museum with my friend. The RAF Museum is a huge museum for my standards, and had a lot of interesting planes for me to look at. One of the planes that I just glanced at but didn't pay too much attention to was the Heinkel He111. My friend pointed out that that particular airplane had an interesting history. It belonged to an American. Now, how it ended up in the hands of the RAF in the RAF Museum was interesting. They simply found it at their airfield right after the war. It was simply parked right in the airfield right after the war. And they didn't know exactly who it belonged to. They knew it was an American because it had American markings on the airplane, but they didn't know exactly what happened or who was the actual owner of that particular airplane. So a few years ago, the granddaughter of the owner of this airplane came to London and filled in the story with the museum curators. So what happened was a man, his name was James Carter, Major James Carter. He was a P-47 fighter pilot, and he was actually stationed in England in the Box airfield in England. So he was in France, and the war was winding down. The war was about to be over, and so he and his friends wanted to go back home as soon as they possibly can, and the fastest way is for them not to be stationed in France but actually go back to their home base in England. So they were thinking about how in the world are they going to get themselves back to England, because they were allowed to to do it through the regular channels. And so what happened was they found this particular airplane. This airplane was captured by the Americans, and it was about to be shipped over to the United States for test and evaluation. It was already marked up with American symbols on it, and so what happened was the ship that was supposed to carry this airplane back to the United States was full. They couldn't hold this airplane on that ship, and so it was simply abandoned at the airfield in France. So Major James Carter had an idea. He and his friends would try to learn how to fly this airplane and fly back to England, back to Box airfield. Now, it's pretty dangerous to do something like that because there was no manual on how to fly an He111. So they just didn't learn really quite literally by the seat of their pants. And so they almost crashed the airplane. They got the airplane off the ground, but they didn't know how to put the landing gear down. And so they kept on flying around the airfield until they finally figured out how to put the landing gear back down, and they landed safely. So when they flew back from France to the Box airfield in England, they began to fall in love with that particular airplane. That airplane was so well engineered that they actually fell in love with it. And so when the war was over, they couldn't bear to see that airplane get scrapped and get thrown in the junkyard. And so they devised an idea. The idea was that right before they're about to leave England, they're going to go ahead and fly the airplane to a nearby RAF field, Air Force field. And then they did that. They flew it over there at nighttime so no one would really notice. They parked it in the airfield, and then they took another airplane that they already had running going back to the airfield in Box Airfield. And so the next day, when the RAF authorities found that there was a parked HE111 in the airfield, it was too late. James Carter and his friends was already on the ship going back to America. So that's a very interesting story about this airplane. And so I just wanted to build this airplane as it looked when James Carter actually found the airplane all just basically abandoned at that airfield in France. So let's go ahead and start building this kit right now. Let's go take inside this box. We have one plastic bag containing all the parts. Decal. And the instruction sheet. Okay, so we built the model kit, and now it's time for me to show you what I think about this kit so far. Take a look. This is the computer model kit before painting, and I find this kit easy to build. The only issue that I had is with the engines. I had a hard time fitting the engines onto the wing. There were some fit issues. But other than that, this kit was easy to build, and if you're a beginner, you might find this kit challenging because of the small parts. But other than that, this kit is really a nice kit for all skill levels to build. It's time for me to paint the model. So what you see right now are the highlights that I painted to give it visual interest, and now I'm going to paint the main color. I'm doing some pin washing. What I'm pointing at is the glass nose of the bomber. I'm not quite sure you can see this, but it's cracked right here. And the crack is not because of the manufacturing process, but because of the shipment. When the kit came over to my house, it must have been dropped, and that broke this plastic nose right here. I want to talk to you about making some repairs for this clear plastic part. So, as I said earlier, this clear plastic part is cracked. Now, I cannot repair it, but what I can do is improve on its looks. What I'm pointing at is a bottle of Future Floor Wax, and I'm going to dip this clear plastic nose into this Future Floor Wax, and what it would do is that it'll not make it totally invisible for the cracks, but it'll make it look just a little bit better. So I'm going to put it right in here like that, like so, and then let it dry. I just finished painting the clear plastic part with an ordinary brush. I think I did an okay job. Okay, so we built the model kit, we painted it, we weathered it, and now it's time for me to show you the entire model kit from the beginning to the end. Take a look. This is a completed model kit after painting and weathering, and it's not a bad job that I made. I found another issue with this kit. The clear plastic part are warped, so it didn't fit perfectly well. But other than that, this kit is it's an average kit. It's not like the best one on the market, but I don't think anybody would be dissatisfied building this model kit. I think you're going to enjoy it. I have. That completes this model project. What you're about to see is a video slideshow of the entire model kit. But before I go, as always, just because I put this video here on YouTube, it doesn't make me a model kit expert. I'm not an expert, I'm just a regular guy just like you. So at the end of this video, I'm going to have a link to the actual interview of the granddaughter of the owner of the previous owner of the HE111. It's an interesting interview. I think it's fairly short, I think about 5 minutes. So for those of you who are interested in seeing that, I'm going to put that link right at the end of this video slideshow. I'm QDC, and thanks for watching. Goodbye now.